Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. We got a double feature for you this week. I watched two amazingly bad movies over the weekend. One, Ghost Samurai, that I streamed on Shudder, and two, Winterbeast, that I streamed from Tubi. Tubi is amazing. It has a fantastic selection of the worst movies you could possibly want. It is a gold mine. So you should check out Tubi if you have not. Where to go from here? Both of these movies were not good, except one entertained me to no end. It was fantastically bad. Let's start with Ghost Samurai. I already mentioned that this was on Shudder. Now, if you're not familiar with Shudder, Shudder gives a rating system. Instead of using stars, they have skulls, but it's the same thing. So I find this Ghost Samurai, and I click on it, and it literally, when I looked at it, had 0 skulls. Here's an example of one that maybe has like 4 skulls, and here's one that has some other skulls. But this movie had 0 skulls. And I'm thinking, is that even possible? I think just making a movie alone should give it at least 1 skull. What's going on here? I got to give this movie a try. I only watched this movie because it had 0 skulls. That's the only reason I watched this. And I thought it was really funny. And my whole spiel was going to be like, I watch a 0 skull movie from Shudder. Let's find out how bad it is. But today, when I'm looking stuff up and I'm Googling, and it's all like Ghost Samurai on Shudder, and you click on it, there it shows that it has 4 out of 5 skulls. I'm like, wait a minute, why is this showing it has 4 out of 5 skulls, but when you log in and you click on the movie on the service, it shows 0? I have no idea, so I don't know what reality is here, but I can tell you what I thought of it.
皆さん、こんなご時世だからこそ声を大にして言いたい。存在しません。
Just so you know, when you hear a beeping sound during this trailer, what they're doing is they're censoring out the name, because saying the name of this creature is part of the legend behind it.
今日も様の手で多くの人々が救われたようです。
その名を。
政府は本日よりという言葉の
It said right there, web search. I don't know if you saw that because of my little image down here in the corner. This is one thing that kind of frustrated me. The same as with that movie, The Split Mouth Woman, is this movie, I guess you would say, it modernizes the urban legend, and it somewhat doesn't totally make sense in the modern sense versus the original context of the urban legend. From what I read, is if you just said the name Okomuru, that this ninja would appear. Well, if you look it up, it's not even a samurai or a ninja. Some of the stuff I found on Google was that nobody really knows what it looks like, because anybody who has encountered it dies. But then there are also some stories that say that it's just a giant disembodied head. Some of the things that I read say that it's just a trickster and it's not going to do anything to you. But then other stories say that it will knock on your door, and you either have to shut your eyes and repeat the name until it disappears. That's the only way to survive. And according to this movie, you have to repeat the name 3 times and Okomuru will disappear. But again, the original urban legend is you say the name, and a week later it will appear and it will kill you. In this movie, it was if you search the name, you go to a specific website that you've searched, Okomuru website, then immediately, like within seconds, this thing shows up and chops your head off. So it doesn't jive with the original urban legend, which frustrates me a little bit, but I do understand people trying to fit things into the modern context. But at the same time, in this movie, they literally mention that this legend has been around for 100 years. So what was this thing doing before there was Google? Because like what the internet's only been around for like 30 years or something like that. I could be wrong on what the exact amount of time, but it definitely has not been around for 100 years. So how was this evil spirit getting around and chopping people's heads off in the past before you could Google search this name? That's the only thing. Anyway, back to the trailer.
検索を禁止すると発表しました。
検索してはならない。
いやもうあれしましょうよ。検索したら死ぬんでしょ。
Okay, you saw that a second ago where that guy was putting that head in the trash bag. That was the only part, maybe one or two spots, that I legitimately laughed while watching this movie. You got this street cleaner guy who's just going around picking up trash, and he just finds two heads on the street, and he just grabs them with these tongs and put them in his bag, and he's just kind of like, it was a rough night last night. It made me laugh. It was like no big deal to him. So many people have been losing their heads that it's just another day for him.
じゃあ私検索します。お顔の。
Now that scene right there, that was kind of towards the beginning of the movie. There was like this podcast discussion about the Okamuru legend, and there was three guests that were really intent on discussing this Okamuru legend and imagery and so forth. And there was this fourth guy that was just pissed off that they were so focused on what he felt was insignificance compared to the fact that people were dying. And he wanted to bring out the fact that this is a hideous thing. We need to do something about it. You guys need to stop pushing this BS crap about this Okamuru legend, and we need to figure out what's really wrong, and we need to stop who's ever out there killing people. So he was really frustrated, and he was like, here, I'm going to prove to you that this is all BS. I'm going to Google search, and I'm going to go to this website right now just to prove to you that this thing does not exist. Of course he does, and as you saw in the trailer, immediately the ghost samurai shows up and chops his head off.
誰だお前。
現代によみがえる打ち首獄門伝説。
岡村はただの風です。
Do you know about Okamuru? 5 college friends have a fireside chat about the urban legend Okamuru and are found decapitated the next morning. As a sole survivor of the mysterious slaying, Suzu suffers from severe trauma and vows to avenge her friends' murders. Soon, a pandemic of fear spreads across the country as the Okamuru curse goes viral and the body count mounts. Amid spreading widespread panic, the authorities issue an unprecedented state of emergency. Health officials provide the only known antidote to keep the evil spirit at bay. Ignore the knocking at the door or say his name 3 times and he might leave you alone. Nevertheless, Suzu bravely challenges Okamuru to a showdown to cure her trauma and achieve her revenge. Will Okamuru take up the gauntlet and make Suzu his next victim? This is the first film to explore the urban legend of Okamuru, a monster or phantom infamous since Japan's Edo period. The legend goes like this. If anyone hears or utters his name, Okamuru, the evil entity, will suddenly appear and behead that person. The dialogue in this movie was absurd. It was just absurd. And after watching this, I tend to lean towards the 0 skulls out of 5. I definitely am not leaning towards the 4 skulls out of 5. Not at all. So this girl, Suzu, survives this slaying. Why? Somehow they all look this up, and instead of the spirit immediately showing up, it takes several hours. It was kind of daytime when they were talking about this. They're looking it up online, and then it's nighttime. And then it comes and kills people. There's some really cringe dialogue in here. Suzu is talking to her boyfriend, And they have this whole conversation about how one of the girls in there is embarrassed because she doesn't know how to eat ramen and she wants to learn how to slurp the ramen instead of using a spoon. And then it turns into some weird flirtation thing between this dude and Suzu where he's like, I'll teach you how to slurp ramen. And I'm like, ew. Was that a subtle oral joke there? I don't know. It was a little weird to me. So this conversation about slurping ramen went on for way too long. Then the samurai shows up, kills everybody. Suzu is like asleep in her bed. And then she hears the knocking and she kind of half asleep, half awake, jumps up and then says his name 3 times and he walks away. From this point on, the government addressing it, saying, hey, you need to watch out, stop going to this website. Then it's like this 40 minutes of just, and I could be making this up, I'm just saying, because it seemed like it went on forever, of just scene after scene after scene after scene of people going to this website and getting their heads cut off. So this goes on for a very long time. So much so that I even forget about Suzu and that group of friends at the beginning. I'm just like, okay, when is the real story going to pick up? I thought that was just the opening, and now we're going to get to the real rest of the story. Okay, no. Then suddenly we come back to Suzu, who's in therapy, and the therapist is trying to help her. And then she goes to some like Buddhist temple and she's looking for help there. So now we have this montage of training. The therapist tells Suzu, you know what? I think you're good. We don't need to meet anymore. And she kind of asks him out on a date. Suzu is talking about how the psychiatrist is her hero. Okay, and she looks up to him and how he like saved her life. And he's like, oh, really? Thanks. And she's like, do you have a hero? And he's like, He's like, yeah, I guess I do have a hero. He never says who. He's just like, there is somebody I've looked up to for a long time. And as soon as he said this, I'm like, oh, this MFer is talking about Okamuru. There we go. If that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. And that instantly pops in my head. I'm like, this crazy MFer, that is his hero. Okay, so anyway, then this guy comes up and he's like, oh, yeah, I used to go to school with you. And he's like, no, you're wrong guy. He's like, no, I recognize you. And then he's like, no, let's get out of here. And he's grabbing Suzu and he's like, let's get out. And he's trying to pull her. And the guy's like, no, I know you don't ignore me. And he's like, yeah, your name is so-and-so Mr. Okamuru. And then it's like, ba, ba, ba. It's like, oh shit. And then things get crazy. Then suddenly the psychiatrist like snaps and he flips and he starts like laughing. He goes into anime mode. He's all like crazy, you know, and he goes on this big rant about how he wants Suzu to suffer and he was hoping to cause her to suffer more before he kills her. And then he's like, here, how's this? And he pulls out of his attaché case. His attaché case. He pulls out her mom's head and sets it on the table. End of scene. Nobody's going to do anything about this. No cops are called, nothing. Some dude just plopped a head on the table, no big deal. I mean, I guess they're assuming this Okamuru thing's been going on for so long, he may have just found that head laying on the side of the road and he just picked it up. So why would we assume he had anything to do with it? Okay, now that I talked through it, it makes total sense. So now it's time for Suzu, the monk, and this badass trainer chick to take on Okamuru. So they get in this warehouse and they have like a ton of cell phones and laptops and stuff. And they make all of them search Okamuru to lure him in. He shows up. It just looks like some dude and got the Batman thing. I'm not wearing hockey pads. So this dude's just wearing like hockey pads and he has like a trash can over his head and he has a sword. Okay, and then he takes off the trash can off and he's like, oh, was this to lure me in here? And he gets all cocky and she's like, I'm going to kill you. Ah. But then all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. They turn around and crazy psychiatrist guy is like, what? He's real? Okay, so then the real Okamuru comes through. And the psychiatrist is like, you've been my hero. He's like, you owe your life to me. I got fear so high that it brought you back to life. You owe it all to me. And the samurai, the Okamuru samurai, real one, is like, look, bro, I don't owe you nothing. And he tries to kill him. And so the psychiatrist is like, oh, shit just got real. And so he hightails it out of there. The monk and the trainer are like, here, Suzu, we'll take care of the real Okamuru. You take off after the psychiatrist and you go kill him. So we have these super long battles that are drawn out. The monk gets killed immediately. He unloads a ton. He has a gun and he just unloads it on the real ghost, does nothing. And then there's a sword fight between the trainer and it goes on forever. You think she might win. At the same time, Suzu is taking on the psychiatrist. She kills him. She pulls kind of a Clint Eastwood thing. So many times the psychiatrist gets, neck shots. He gets a sword, boom, right on her neck, and he's not able to cut through. And he's kind of like, what the heck is going on? Yeah, so she pulled a little Clint Eastwood thing going on, and she has this high-necked, shirt on, and she takes it off, and she has a band of metal across her neck. So she's been safe this whole time. Okay. She ends up killing him. Then she runs back just in time to see the real Okamuru killing her trainer. And you're like, oh, now there's going to be another sword fight. She's got her axe. She's going to take on the real Okamuru. She's going to kick its ass. No, what does she do? She runs over. It gets all Resident Evil. She runs over, grabs a freaking rocket launcher. She does a hero pose, and she shoots this rocket at Okamuru. And he doesn't even try to move. He just stands there and he's like, bring it on, bitch. And it hits him and he just, it just disintegrates. Okay. And I'm thinking, she was awfully close to that explosion. And then it cuts away and it shows like a shot of the city and the warehouse, and the whole warehouse just explodes. And I'm like, how is she walking away from this? I'm like, at the end, they're just going to show her walking out of flames. No, the building freaking explodes. Credits roll. So I'm guessing she died in that. Did Okamuru die? I mean, he disintegrated. He just literally, you see his body get pulled apart and exploded. So is it over? I don't know. They'll probably make a sequel to this movie, even though it doesn't deserve it. I did not enjoy this movie. Things went on far too long. The dialogue sucked. It was hideous. It got so melodramatic, especially when the psychiatrist revealed that he was the one behind everything, which makes no sense because if he was not supernatural and he was just a normal dude going out there with some kind of psychotic desire to bring back this evil spirit, how was he instantly showing up at all these people's places that were looking him up online? Now, and I will show you, some of you might say, well, maybe he only did it at the beginning and then the spirit took over. Okay, I'll give you that, except for all the times they showed people's heads getting cut off. Their heads were being cut off with a normal katana. Okay. The only time you see the real Okamuru at the end, his sword is not a regular katana. It's some kind of a weird sword that looks like it's fleshy. Okay, looks totally different. So this is the first time you see his sword, which means that all those other times that those people were beheaded and killed, it was the psychiatrist. So how was he immediately showing up where people search? I don't know. Makes no sense. Anyway, in the end, I am giving this 0 out of 5 skulls. It was not a great movie. Again, I can't explain the why does it now show that it has 4 out of 5 when I originally it showed 0. Did not enjoy this movie. It's whatever. Okay. Winterbeast. This movie was so hideous and I loved every minute of it. It was so bad And I highly recommend anybody who loves bad movies to watch this. This movie was so bad. It was so confusing. It was so jumbled. I could not stop laughing at how bad this was. Okay, so I don't actually think this is a real trailer. I doubt they ever made a real trailer for this. I think this is somebody a fan just kind of made this and put it together. So it's good enough. Little Trump dance going on there. Actually, now that I think about it, I should probably shut this audio off. I'm probably going to get tagged for that one. I find this funny. They show this guy rolling down this hill. Hey, let's show that scene again. If you didn't get enough of the guy rolling down the hill, let's show it again. I think it was chasing after that cheese log. What country is that where they roll that cheese log down the hill and everybody just goes running after it? That was just a clip from that. I want to point out that this guy who's a law officer, legitimately, he has a real gun in his hand at the moment. That dinosaur ate that cardboard cutout of that guy. I'm still dancing to the music that's playing in my head, even though you guys can't hear it anymore. Winterbeast. There you go. Again, I can't recommend this enough for the garbage that it is. It's fantastic. Lots of people like to say that Troll 2 is the worst movie ever. There is no way that it has anything on Winterbeast. Troll 2 actually has some kind of semblance of a story. Winterbeast does not at all. I was so confused by the way this movie went. It kind of is like, there's this. I don't even know where to begin. You have to experience this for yourself. I did love the stop motion animation. It was hilarious. There was a lot of monsters in there. The storyline made no sense. It was something about how there's like a lodge, there's this mountain, people are disappearing, and maybe it has something to do with some ancient Indian burial ground. That's the extent of the storyline. There are moments, there's like these totem poles, there's these creatures that show up. There's action sequences that make no sense. As I pointed out, this is towards the end. You saw that officer with a legitimate gun, okay? He's facing this creature that really just looks like a band member from War, decided to come in for a minute, and he's chasing him down. Then a buddy shows up in a truck. He jumps in the truck. They speed away. Somehow they crash. This War band member is chasing after him. He jumps out of the car. Somehow his gun is missing, and now he has a flare. So now he has this big ass white flare gun, and he's just shooting flares at this demon. A demon. He's shooting fire at a demon. I mean, conventional wisdom would tell you that fire doesn't work on demons, but I mean, whatever. The rest of this movie doesn't make sense, so why should we care about that? So they battle it out, and I don't know why it made more sense for him to get rid of that gun and then suddenly have a flare gun in his pocket that he could, every time he shoots it, he has to reload it. And he has like a pocket full of flares. He's just like, where did he find this in the truck? He was like, no, this handgun, this is BS. This flare, I'm just going to load my pocket full of flare and I'll just keep shooting at this demon at the end. Okay, whatever. There's giant chickens. There's tree monsters. There's things that pop out of the ground. There's some kind of a mummy. It's insane. They're talking about destroying this totem because they think it's a portal to hell. Okay. And this dude's like, no, you can't do that. You know how much money that's worth? No concern over the fact that if they remove this totem, that maybe it'll make the portal to hell even more open and more things will come through. He's concerned about the money. He's like, let me call the historical society. They'll pay big money to put this in a museum. That's what he's concerned with. Don't cut it down. Don't cut it down. It's not the problem. But then the very next day, he goes up there with a can of gasoline and douses it and, blows the thing up. There's also this lodge owner who's shady from the beginning. You're like, he knows there's some crap going on out there, but he doesn't want anything done about it because he doesn't want, people to stop coming to his lodge. Makes total sense to me. So, but then you find out he's really crazy. He's like crazy. And later on, this lawman goes into his lodge and he has some like secret room in there where he has all these dead bodies and he's putting on a mask and dancing around and touching the mat, all these dead people and la di la. It's some crazy weird shit. And then suddenly the lodge owner just burst into flame. Like out of nowhere, he just freaking burst into flames. The lawman and his buddy just stand there like, what the F? Next scene, it's like none of that ever happened. They're just like back to work. The one guy's at his little, souvenir stand, just selling trinkets. It was weird. It was like that never happened. The ending makes no sense. There's something about a necklace that's supposed to be really important that plays no part whatsoever in the story. I think at one point, one character switches like actors. Like the first 20 minutes, it's played on one character, and then the rest of the movie has another actor playing it. So confusing. So confusing. What I did read is I think this was started in 1985 and it was completed in 1992. They gave up on the movie after a couple days. They're just like, this is garbage. But then the guy revisited it years later. I was like, let's try to piece this thing together, see if I can pull anything out of this. And so he gets the people back together who he could, and he finishes it. And it's just a mismatch. It makes no sense. It's hideous. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's glorious. You need to watch this movie just so that you can see all the inconsistencies and laugh at the non-existent plot and how these characters react to life-changing situations. But at the same time, it's like, no big deal. Life goes on. I loved this movie. I loved it. It was fantastically bad. Okay? If you're not into bad movies, do not watch this. It is so bad and so amazing. So amazing. So, go Samurai, skip that BS. Winterbeast, call a friend over, get some pizza, get yourself some drinks if that's what you do. Sit down and have yourself a good time because this movie is hideous. Now, I did see that Riff Tracks watches it. So if you want to have even more fun, probably watch the Riff Tracks. But I was dying laughing just watching it for its own merit. So there you go. That was my double feature. Thanks for watching. If you've seen any of these movies, if you've seen either of these movies, I want to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment. Please like, subscribe, and share. I want to be a part of this horror community. I'd love to engage in conversations with you. It's okay if we don't agree. That's what being fans is about. Just because you like a movie that I don't like doesn't mean that you're a silly, goofy, stupid person. It just means we have different opinions. I'm glad you like the movies that you like. Let's talk about it. Please leave a comment. I am Judah, and I'll see you next time.